So now I give the floor to Dr. Noël Martinet from the IRR Nancy to tell us about the expertise and resource center of the Grand-Est region. There's two of us. There's also Dr. Laure, who is a physician at the Regional Health Association. So you heard about the new project, ARS Grand-Est, how to organize my future for polio patients. And the Dr. Pin will also introduce the project as it was designed and funded by the ARS. So your president is quite active, Mr. Cordier. In 2018, he wanted to organize a day for the rehab center, the Louis Querquin Center, which was called Polio Tomorrow. So there are probably people here who took part in this day. And when we discussed this with Mr. Cordier, well, we said we need information in order as to be as efficient as possible as a physician in polio disease, especially in terms of the consequences and the future development. So we needed to know what was the health status, your requirements, your fears, and also your views on the healthcare professionals. So we did a survey during that meeting, and we asked some questions, and you answered with your smartphones, and we talked about that. So this was in 2018. 44 people answered the questions, with more women than men. We had 75% of the respondents who were above 61 and between 61 and 79, and this was mainly people from the Grand-Est region, the northeast of France. So 81%, 90% of people were affected in their lower limbs, 22% upper limbs, and 18% in the brain, and 15% affection of their limbs, and also respiratory issues. For the walking and non-walking patients, in the non-walking people, 13% of them using some power wheelchair and 16% using non-power wheelchair. And then you have people walking during the day, and there are those who walk mainly indoors and using a wheelchair outside on longer distances. So when we look at the population of walking people, 86% of them, 15% only had no equipment, 20% had a lower limb brace, 25% shoes, and 25% both. So we can see the equipment and for the consequences of polio. What was important was to assess the quality of life of these people on a scale from 0, very bad quality of life, 10, very good quality of life. So we didn't get anything below 4. So it was the first responses were above 4. 2.3% said 10, but most of them were between 6, 7, 8 on that scale. And what we wanted to focus on, we asked everyone to tell them their 3 fears for the future. And We had many people who said that they feared the future because of aging. They were afraid to not be able to walk in the future. They were afraid to be dependent on somebody else, so a spouse, a child. They were afraid not to be able to drive. 50% not to have a good physician available, 1/3 of them, and 28%, and the loss of capacity for transfers, 18%. So we thought about this a lot, and during that day, there were two types of conclusions. The one done by the physician, that was myself, and the conclusion of the polio patient, that was done by Mr. Cordier. So I'll start by the findings of the physician. So we are used as rehab physicians to monitor patients who are facing disabilities, whether polio, traumas, or others. So the physicians maybe don't know very well polio, but they know they can put their skills at the service of disabilities. So the specialty of aging people who had polio in the past is that they grew up with some muscle deficiencies. The muscles were not always efficient, so they have their own balance. And so that's proprioceptive system that developed as you grew up. So you are sensitive to the slightest change in variation. So we have patients for whom 1 centimeter doesn't make a change, but polio patients say 1 centimeter, everything's changed. So sometimes that's what scares a bit the healthcare professionals or the carers, is the sensitivity that you have. And then aging, well, when you age, muscles work, and then you lose a bit of strength and they don't work anymore. So the aging is done in different steps. So that's also a specialty compared to regular aging of the rest of the population, where it's more progressive. I talked about the sensitivity when we change the equipment, but the second consequence of that is that, in fact, these patients know their pathology well, and they've seen a development of their capabilities with age, but they're very demanding towards themselves, and they have many projects in life, and they want to keep doing that even though their capabilities are decreasing. And so the physician must find a balance between what you want to do, what you can do, and try to match the two, and it's not always easy. So, of course, this goes through listening to you, seeing what happened in the past, whether there has been some changes, an exchange to reach a compromise and set out some priorities, so program with priorities, and try to find some options that are realistic for the future. So, the conclusion is that we need more regular exchanges between the users and the physicians, and also to try to set up some care programs that include some assessments, some short treatments or management before problems happen, because now we see people when something's wrong. So we need to have another type of monitoring and management, and this is what Dr. Pain is going to show. And then there were the conclusions from the president of Polio-France, who said that they were rather positive people because they had a rather good quality of life, but that they had fears about their future. And one of the fears was to no longer have competent physicians. And the conclusion is, when talking about polio patients, to call on to the physicians so that they keep in mind that they need to train their young colleagues. So that was in October 2018, and then the regional health agency started in 2019, so they didn't lose any time between the conference and the reaction of the regional health agency. So I can confirm that even though I know neurology very well, degenerative neurology, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, and cognitive diseases. When I was asked to take this, I said, well, I don't know what it is. So I said, well, what is PPS? I don't know. So indeed, there is a lack of knowledge, and we understood better with Mrs. Brumer this morning the difficulty you have to find a doctor who can listen to you. I come from the hospital. I'm close to a neurologist, but I never heard about this. So there's a problem. So now it is in the regional health program 2018-2028, and we thought, okay, we need to try to understand and we'll try to develop an identity card of those people who have health requirements that we don't know. How can we respond as the regional healthcare agency to help them in their daily life? And it's not easy. So we thought, okay, we'll do this. So I contacted Mr. Cordier. I think it was on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, and he told me briefly what was polio and PPS, and then into agency we decided that we need to build an identity card, do a diagnosis. COVID didn't help us because we were focused on something else, and to propose a roadmap to the general director in the regional healthcare scheme. It's useless to do something if it doesn't match your issues. Okay, so there was a first problem. How many people in the Grand-Est region need cares for PPS or for polio? So the codification for the medical insurance is that in our data systems, well, you don't often go to the hospital, or even when you come to the hospital, everybody think that it's okay, you have polio, so they don't tick that box. So we thought maybe there's 5,000 people in the region. In our region, there's 5.5 million people. So I'd say between 5,000 to 10,000 patients. So it's difficult to identify people in the healthcare background. So this is, we don't really, usually people don't pay attention to your consequences because of polio, because usually you come for something else. So in the regional healthcare observatory, we decided to do a study with the users, with Mr. Martinet and Mr. Cordier also, and the project team. There were people from CRRF, some representatives of the users. So we built this study to understand what was your background, your health cares, and to identify the nature of your needs and your expectations. As Mr. Martinet said, when he did his survey, he did that on 44 people. So we did interviews to quantify the issues you are facing and how we can help you. I'm sorry, but the remote doesn't work. So the conclusions. So lack of knowledge of the first-line healthcare professionals. So that confirmed that I was not the only one not to know about this. That reassured me, but that's not reassuring for the patients. So centralized access with a minimum information seems something important as a first response. If a doctor sees someone who's on holiday, or if the family doctor retired, they need to know what is polio consequences. So does the doctor know really? Yes, they know, but he doesn't know that you know better than he does. So that might trigger some issues. So more specific information access, then some diagnosis errors for many of you before you can find the right person to meet your needs. So we needed to improve that. And then how to share your experience with your peers. When you meet someone who has had these problems, the patient become an expert, and this is what came out of this study. Then there's a problem to manage the loss of autonomy. You know, healthcare professionals don't understand why we have to open a new file for you because you've had polio for many years. So it's difficult to get the right social support, and we have seen in the past that you are willing people. You don't want to be considered as weak people since infancy, so interacting with social workers is something difficult for you. Access to rights and then doing a post-polio diagnosis. This is important from a collective point of view to recognize this pathology. It is not recognized as such because for us it forces us to provide an institutional response, and for you it's important because it legitimates your background and you have to be recognized as having a pathology that is managed. Okay, I need to push hard on the green button. I might break it. Okay, so after some work done on this study and the working group we did with Mr. Martinet, Mr. Cordier, so we concluded that we needed an innovative project to meet all these needs. So after almost 1 year of discussions, what we proposed, what we have built with Mr. Martinet, is to respond to your needs as they were identified. So we took the Rehab Institute in Nancy with Professor Payson. So this is the largest expertise in polio we have in the region. So we turn to the expert, and the Louis Perquin Center can be the basis to develop something. So with the centers, Filsan in Strasbourg and Nancy, with those two centers, the neurologists from Filsan do a lot on multiple sclerosis, and they say, well, we can do diagnosis, but you know, the management should be the rehab physician. Polio-France, of course, the disabled people departmental houses or units, and some healthcare professionals in Nancy. The ones from Nancy adopted it right away, and the others followed suit. And then I would like to thank Mr. Martinet. He's quite humble, but he tried to find locomotor resources to find out who was interested in improving their skills so that the Louis Perquin Center fulfills a mission, which is a multiple one, that is to be the regional reference center considered as a one-stop shop for healthcare professionals looking for information. As for the patients, where we have a new system that is called DAC for doctors when it's quite complicated, so that these people know who to turn to. Then we want to have experts to manage the healthcare that we can offer, do secondary prevention. As Mr. Martinet said, this is important to us. Once this is well known, people who don't have problems yet or small problems yet, they will know they can be covered with secondary prevention. If they come too late, it's too late. So let's spread the word to do an assessment every year or every 2 years, even if you're doing fine. It's important to do prevention for the future. And autonomy, that's the MTPH, and to have a link with them. Then we want to have territorial relays. Not everyone can come to Nancy, or we'll have to clone Mr. Martinet and Mr. Payson, and we'll need to build them a large building. So we want to share the expertise and have territorial units so that people can be managed by an expert center with a relay of people working together. Because, you know, the Paris area, it's okay, it's quite small, but the Grand-Est region is quite large. You know, if you live in Lens and if you have to go to Strasbourg by train, it's complicated. Then we also want to do training because we have a national healthcare program, so we need to have training tools, relay tools for ergotherapists, for young people in trainings, and also we want to accumulate data to do research and action on this pathology and its consequences. Now, the assets used. Well, I appreciated a lot, sir, what you implemented, the leaflets and all that. That was new at the time in the Paris region. So we tried to do something new. So in the Grand-Est region, we're lucky because we have a partnership system, and we develop our own policy organization that has allowed us to have a website that you can build your own way. They've been working with policy for a few months, where we can have shared messaging, intranet. Everything is secured. So it is your own website with the possibility of that everything that was done for you can be included in Polio. Polio is a coordination software shared by your physicians, by yourself. And so there is a secure messaging, so we can get everything. We don't have to wait for a letter. And if you accept that your data concerning everything the center did or the network, if you agree, it will be shared with Polio, and any doctor you will go see will have access to Polio, and you will say, oh, you are being managed by, okay, and he will have contact details of surgeons, anesthesists, and everything. We started developing this also for multiple sclerosis, and after 3 months of use, they were very impressed. So that's saving time for everyone, and that makes you a master of your data. Polio, as it's written on the screen, this is our coordination tool. And if you give your consent to Polio, in your healthcare file, you will have all information. So you don't have to come with all your information, if you're on holiday and so on, and you can do some Polio extraction of your data. So this helps everyone, because training young doctors is a good thing, but we have less and less young doctors, so we need to do better coordination. Nurses also have access to Polio. They can fill in information. Your physiotherapist can fill in information in Polio. Everything that was done to you, everything. So they are building this. I think they're happy. So you will confirm this, Mr. Martinet. Now, the assets, so it is shared expertise. So we strengthening the Louis Berquin Center with the extra resources we considered necessary. So one ergotherapist, he will coordinate all this project. She's there somewhere. Can you raise your hand? She's there, in the back left. So extra medical time, Mr. Martinet. Some social time also, because we need to have a social worker who can call the MDPH and train the MDPH. And it was considered that at least 5 expert patients must be by region. We need 5 expert patients per region to provide some support. So you will see how you do this, but we would like to have them spread out over the region. And if there are more who want to be expert patients, that's fine. For small areas in the Aube department, it's a bit difficult, but we want to cover the whole region. And then partners. So the expertise will be shared with partners, but the partners with upload information, so it's a complex exchange of information to increase the knowledge for everyone and to have a better management for you and coordinated management. So everyone must be involved to make it work. And the support, well, the project governance is, it's quite innovative. It's never been done before. So we innovate in this region, and we want to share and capitalize with others. So there's the steering committee, and we will fund an external involvement, because an external assessment, because we are too involved, even the regional health agency, because we need to do this external assessment, not to say it's good or it's bad, but no, to be able to share the difficulties, the obstacles, so that the others can use that and repeat that in other regions. And there's a financial support of the regional health agency. And there's a transformation policy for the users. So we have Article 51 of the policy, but we can develop this also regionally to capitalize, to experiment, and to share this. So Mrs. Kire said, yes, under the condition that the project contains Pulsi. So we looked at the file. We have everything we need. So that's a green light. And this platform will be implemented with all the contact details, and you will be able to see how to use it. So this is to show that we started from your needs by identifying the right organization was not easy. Maybe we'll do this for other rare diseases, because we can see that you have a lot of solidarity, but for institutions, somehow you're a bit invisible because there's not enough of you.
Merci. Merci beaucoup, docteur.
Thank you, Dr. Noël Martinet and Dr. Pin, for your great presentation, starting from the needs and offering great proposals. It's a nice project and it gives us hope. I hope it will be streamlined to the entire country, not only the region. But it's a great start. So I now give the floor to the audience. Comments are made off mic.
Oui, moi je voulais demander le lien entre ARCE.
I would like to ask you what's the relationship between ARCEO and health space on the internet that other regions are starting to launch. Well, it will be connected. There's going to be a connection between the two systems. These are two public systems. These are not private systems. So we have Pulsi, we have Barceo, and the RHI. So they are all interconnected. Yes, because I'm working in another region, and we ask our members to create Mon Espace Santé, which is the health space online, and I wanted to know how we can find some kind of standardization. Well, we ask people to open also the Mon Espace Santé when they are on Parcel, because it's automatic, and you can have the access to everything on Parcel and on your health space online. Your health space online is yours, but Parcel can be connected to other stakeholders.